before Egypt built its pyramid, before Greece conceived its gods, before Rome drew its first map, there was a civilization. They rose in a land they called Kai, the earth, between two great rivers where no civilization had any right to exist. And yet they didn't just exist, they thrived, they invented, they recorded everything. Their name was Sumer, and for nearly 5,000 years, the world forgot they were ever there. This is not mythology, this is not speculation. Every word you are about to hear is drawn from cuneiform tablets, the oldest written records on Earth, now housed in the British Museum, the University of Pennsylvania Museum of Archaeology, the Louvre, and the Oriental Institute of Chicago. This is the true history of Sumer. Around 4,500 BCE, a people appeared in southern Mesopotamia, in what is today southern Iraq, with no clear ancestral connection to the surrounding populations. Archaeologists call this the Ubaid period. Scholars have debated their origins for over a century. The Sumerian language is what linguists call a language isolate. It has no known relatives, no sister languages, no parent language we can identify. It stands alone in all of human history. Source: Thorkild Jacobson, The Sumerian King List, Assyriological Studies No. 11, Oriental Institute of Chicago, 1939. Also, Samuel Noah Kramer, The Sumerians, Their History, Culture, and Character, University of Chicago Press, 1963. By 3500 BCE, the Sumerians had established what historians recognize as the world's first urban civilization in a city they called Eridu, which they themselves believed was the first city ever built on Earth. Their own records say, after kingship had descended from heaven, the kingship was in Eridu. This is the opening line of the Sumerian King List, a document inscribed in cuneiform that lists every ruler from the beginning of civilization to approximately 1800 BCE. It is one of the most analyzed documents in all of archaeology. Source: The Sumerian King List, translated by Thorkild Jacobson. Original tablet, Weld Blundell Prism, housed at the Ashmolean Museum, Oxford, catalogue number AN1923.444. Eridu was excavated between 1946 and 1949 by Iraqi archaeologists. They found 18 layers of temples stacked on top of each other, going back to 5,400 BCE, 18 temples, each one built on top of the ruins of the last. This was not a city that appeared and disappeared. This was a city that refused to die. Source: Fuad Safar, Seton Lloyd, and Muhammad Ali Mustafa, Eridu, State Organization of Antiquities and Heritage, Baghdad, 1981. Around 3,200 BCE, something happened that would change the course of human civilization forever. Someone in the Sumerian city of Uruk pressed a reed stylus into a wet clay tablet and made a mark. Not a picture, not a symbol, a record. This is the world's oldest writing system, cuneiform, and it was not created for poetry or prayer. It was created for accounting, for trade, for economic records. The Sumerians were, at their core, obsessed with order. Source: The Uruk Tablets British Museum Collection. See also Andrew Robinson, The Story of Writing, Alphabets, Hieroglyphs, and Pictograms, Thames and Hudson, 2007, and Peter Damerow, The Origins of Writing as a Problem of Historical Epistemology, Cuneiform Digital Library Journal, 2006. The earliest cuneiform tablets discovered at Uruk, excavated by German archaeologists beginning in 1912. Record grain deliveries, livestock counts, and temple distributions. One of the most famous early tablets shows a human head next to a bowl. It means ration. It means someone sat down 5,200 years ago and decided, that information needed to outlast memory. Source: Mesopotamian Collections, British Museum, BM 116730. Also, Joran Freiberg, A Remarkable Collection of Babylonian Mathematical Texts, Springer, 2007. Within 5 centuries, this system evolved from simple pictograms into a full written language capable of recording law, literature, astronomy, and medicine. And the Sumerians used it for all of those things. While the rest of the world lived in villages, Sumer built cities. Uruk, known in the Bible as Erech, had by 3000 BCE a population estimated between 50,000 and 80,000 people. For its time, it was the largest city on Earth. Source: Guillermo Algaze, Ancient Mesopotamia at the Dawn of Civilization, University of Chicago Press, 2008. Then there was Ur, later the birthplace of Abraham according to the Hebrew Bible. Excavated by Sir Leonard Woolley between 1922 and 1934, Ur revealed something that shocked the world. The Royal Cemetery of Ur. Woolley uncovered 1,850 graves. 16 of them were royal tombs, and inside those tombs, something disturbing. Dozens of attendants, soldiers, musicians, court ladies, buried alongside their rulers, not killed violently, poisoned, willingly, it seems, as if death itself was an honor when performed in service to the king. Source: Leonard Woolley, Ur of the Chaldees, Ernest Ben Limited, 1929. Also, see Leonard Woolley, Excavations at Ur, a record of 12 years' work, Thomas Y. Crowell Company, 1965. One tomb, believed to belong to Queen Puabi, dated to approximately 2600 BCE, contained 74 attendants, a golden headdress of extraordinary craftsmanship, a lapis lazuli necklace, a golden harp, and evidence of what may be the world's earliest known court orchestra. Source: Queen Puabi's Tomb Artifacts, University of Pennsylvania Museum of Archaeology and Anthropology, object number B17711. See also, Zainab Bahrani, The Graven Image, Representation in Babylonia and Assyria, University of Pennsylvania Press, 2003. The golden headdress of Queen Puabi is not a primitive artifact. It is a masterwork. Its craftsmanship rivals anything made in Europe 1,000 years later. Here is something history class never told you. The Code of Hammurabi, celebrated as the world's first written law, dates to approximately 1754 BCE. It is inscribed on a black diorite stele, now displayed in the Louvre in Paris. But it was not the first. 300 years earlier, a Sumerian king named Ur-Nammu, founder of the 3rd dynasty of Ur, wrote the Code of Ur-Nammu around 2100 BCE. It is the oldest known law code in human history. Source: Samuel Noah Kramer, The Ur-Nammu Law Code. Who was its author? Orientalia, New Series, Volume 52, Number 4, 1983, pages 453 to 456. Original tablets, Istanbul Archaeological Museum and University of Pennsylvania Museum, and the laws it contains are startling in their sophistication. They include provisions for false testimony, for bodily injury compensation, for the rights of widows and orphans. There are laws against corruption of government officials. There are even laws protecting the poor from exploitation by the wealthy. One tablet reads, "He did not deliver the orphan to the wealthy. He did not deliver the widow to the mighty. He did not deliver the man of 1 shekel to the man of 1 mina." These were not the laws of a barbaric, primitive people. These were the laws of a civilization that believed justice was a divine mandate, and they wrote it down so that no king could ignore it. Source: Martha Roth, Law Collections from Mesopotamia and Asia Minor, Scholars Press, 1997. Before Homer wrote the Odyssey, before Virgil wrote the Aeneid, before any story you have ever been told was told, there was Gilgamesh. The Epic of Gilgamesh is the oldest known work of literature in human history. It tells the story of a king, 2/3 divine, 1/3 human, who rules the great city of Uruk, goes on a quest for immortality, and ultimately discovers that death is the fate of all men. Source: Andrew George. Translator: The Epic of Gilgamesh, the Babylonian epic poem and other texts, in Akkadian and Sumerian, Penguin Classics, 2003. Primary tablets: British Museum, Tablet 11, known as the Flood Tablet. The earliest fragments date to approximately 2100 BCE, but the story is believed to be older, and within this story there is something that has disturbed scholars for 150 years. In Tablet 11, the so-called Flood Tablet, Gilgamesh meets a man named Ur-Nammu, the only human ever granted immortality by the gods. And Ur-Nammu tells him why. The gods decided to send a great flood to destroy mankind, but one god, Enki, warned Ur-Nammu. He told him to build a great boat, to take his family, to take all living creatures aboard. The flood came. It lasted 7 days and 7 nights. The waters receded. The boat came to rest on a mountain, and Ur-Nammu sent out a dove to find dry land. This story was inscribed on clay tablets at least 700 years before the Book of Genesis was written. Source: Tablet 11, British Museum, Catalogue K.3375. See also Irving Finkel, The Ark Before Noah, Decoding the Story of the Flood, Doubleday, 2014. The parallels are not coincidental. Scholars have traced the flood narrative through Sumerian, Akkadian, Babylonian, and Hebrew texts. The origin point is Mesopotamia. The origin culture is Sumer. The Sumerians did not separate religion from science. They did not separate the divine from the natural world. For them, everything was connected. Their cosmos was ruled by a pantheon of gods called the Anunnaki, a word that translates roughly as those of royal blood or princely offspring. These were not abstract deities. In Sumerian belief, they were physical beings who descended to earth, created cities, and gave humans civilization. Source: Thorkild Jacobson, The Treasures of Darkness, A History of Mesopotamian Religion, Yale University Press, 1976. At the head of the pantheon was An, the sky god. His son was Enlil, the god of wind and storms, the most powerful deity on earth. And there was Enki, the god of wisdom, water, and creation, credited with being the creator of humanity itself. According to Sumerian mythology recorded in a text known as Atrahasis, another flood story, this one preserved on tablets from approximately 1700 BCE, humanity was created to do the labor the lesser gods refused to perform. The gods were tired of digging canals, farming the earth, and building temples, so they fashioned humans from clay, mixed with the blood of a slain god, and set them to work. Source: Stephanie Daly. Translator: Myths from Mesopotamia, Creation, the Flood, Gilgamesh and Others, Oxford University Press, 1989. Atrahasis Tablet, British Museum, BM 78941. What is most striking about Sumerian religion is its consistency with Sumerian science. They described the earth as a flat disk floating on a great underground ocean called the Abzu. The sky was a solid dome they called the An, and beyond that dome, more water. This cosmology persisted from Sumer through Babylon, through Persia, and into the Hebrew Bible, where the same structure appears in the Book of Genesis as the waters above the firmament. Source: Wayne Horowitz, Mesopotamian Cosmic Geography, Eisenbrauns, 1998. Everything in modern mathematics that involves the number 60 came from Sumer. The Sumerians invented a number system called sexagesimal, base 60. You use it every day. 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, 360 degrees in a circle. These are not arbitrary numbers. They were chosen by Sumerian mathematicians 5,000 years ago because 60 has more divisors than any smaller number. Source: Denise Schmant-Besserat, before writing, From Counting to Cuneiform, University of Texas Press, 1992. Also, Eleanor Robson, Mathematics in Ancient Iraq, A Social History, Princeton University Press, 2008. Sumerian astronomical records, found on tablets from the city of Nippur, show that by 2000 BCE, they had calculated the synodic period of the moon to within minutes of accuracy. They tracked Venus. They identified 5 planets visible to the naked eye, and they divided the night sky into constellations, many of which we still use today. Source: Francesca Rochberg, The Heavenly Writing, Divination, Horoscopy, and Astronomy in Mesopotamian Culture, Cambridge University Press, 2004. The Mul-Apin Tablets, a collection of Babylonian astronomical texts rooted in Sumerian tradition, record star rise and star set times, planetary periods, and eclipse cycles. They date to approximately 1000 BCE, but contain observations that scholars believe are centuries older. Source: Mul-Apin Tablets, British Museum, BM 86378 plus BM 76161. And then there is the Plimpton 322 tablet, discovered in southern Iraq in the early 20th century, now held at Columbia University, dating to approximately 1800 BCE. It contains a table of numbers that scholars have long debated. In 2017, mathematicians at the University of New South Wales published a paper arguing that it represents a sophisticated trigonometric table, more accurate in some respects than modern trigonometric tables. Source: Daniel Mansfield and N.J. Wildberger. Plimpton 322 is Babylonian. Exact Sexagesimal Trigonometry. Historia Mathematica, Volume 44, Issue 4, November 2017. The Babylonians inherited this from the Sumerians. The Greeks inherited it from the Babylonians. We inherited it from the Greeks. The chain of mathematics that produced the smartphone in your hand began on a clay tablet in southern Iraq. No civilization lasts forever, not even the first one. The decline of Sumer did not happen in a single moment. It unfolded across centuries through a combination of military invasion, environmental collapse, and internal political fragmentation. Around 2300 BCE, a king named Sargon of Akkad, the world's first empire builder, conquered the Sumerian city-states one by one and unified Mesopotamia under a single rule. He called himself King of the Four Quarters of the world. For the first time in history, an empire stretched from the Mediterranean to the Persian Gulf. Source: Mario Liverani, Myth and Politics in Ancient Near Eastern Historiography, Cornell University Press, 2004. Also, Mark van de Meeroop, A History of the Ancient Near East, circa 3000 to 323 BC, Wiley-Blackwell, 2015. The Akkadian Empire absorbed Sumerian culture without destroying it. The Akkadians adopted cuneiform writing. They adopted Sumerian gods, giving them Semitic names. They translated Sumerian literature into Akkadian. In doing so, they preserved it. But then came something the Sumerians had never faced. Around 2100 BCE, climate shifted. Scholars studying peat deposits, lake sediments, and pollen records from the region have identified a 300-year period of severe drought, what researchers call the 4.2 kiloyear event, that struck the entire Middle East simultaneously. Agricultural production collapsed. Famines spread, cities emptied. Source: Harvey Weiss et al., The Genesis and Collapse of Third Millennium North Mesopotamian Civilization, Science, And then came the Amorites, semi-nomadic people from the west who flooded into Mesopotamia during the chaos. Then the Elamites from the east. Around 2004 BCE, the Elamites sacked the city of Ur. A Sumerian poet, unknown to us by name, recorded the event in a text known as the Lamentation over the Destruction of Ur. It is one of the most heartbreaking documents from the ancient world. It reads, in part, "O Nana, Ur has been given over to tears. The people mourn. In its lofty gates where promenades were made, dead bodies were lying about. In its boulevards where the festivals were celebrated, the people lay in heaps." Source: Samuel Noah Kramer, translator. Lamentation over the destruction of Ur in ancient Near Eastern texts, relating to the Old Testament 3rd edition, edited by James B. Pritchard, Princeton University Press, 1969, pages 455 to 463. After the fall of Ur, the Sumerian language slowly ceased to be spoken. It survived only as a language of ritual and scholarship, used by priests the way Latin was used in medieval Europe. The last cuneiform tablet written in Sumerian dates to approximately 100 CE, over 4,000 years after the language was first recorded. They are gone. But they are everywhere. Every time you look at a clock, you are using Sumerian mathematics. Every time you read a story with a hero who fights a monster, overcomes impossible odds, and searches for something immortal, you are reading a story that Sumer told first. Every time you read of a great flood in any religious text on earth, you are reading an echo of a Sumerian original. The wheel, widely attributed to Mesopotamia, around 3,500 BCE, the plow, the sailboat, the first schools called aduba or tablet houses, where students learn to write cuneiform, copy literature, and study mathematics. The world's first recorded physicians, the world's first recorded farmers who used irrigation on an industrial scale. Source: Samuel Noah Kramer, History Begins at Sumer, 39 firsts. In Recorded History, University of Pennsylvania Press, 1956. This book alone is a comprehensive sourcebook of Sumerian firsts, fully cited. And perhaps most haunting of all, the world's first recorded lullaby, found on a tablet from the Ur-3 period, approximately 2000 BCE. It is a mother's song to her child. Scholars have translated it. It speaks of a baby, of sleep, of a mother's hope. Source: Sumerian Lullaby Tablet, Oriental Institute Museum, Chicago, a 2461. See also, and Drafkorn Kilmer, a lullaby from ancient Sumer in Kinatutu Sadarati, Raphael Kutcher Memorial Volume, Tel Aviv, 1993. 5,000 years ago, in a land between two rivers, a mother sang her child to sleep. And we know it happened, because she wrote it down. The accepted story of history begins with Greece, with Rome, with the civilizations that built in stone and marble and left ruins that tourists photograph. But the real beginning is older, quieter, written in clay in a script no one could read for 2,000 years. The Sumerians did not build for posterity. They built because they believed order was divine. That writing was sacred, that the record of a life, a grain delivery, a legal dispute, a lullaby mattered enough to survive. And 5,000 years later, it did. If this history changes how you see the ancient world,